Hey everybody, welcome to the video. So I'm breaking down the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. This will take place on Sunday, October 24th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And this is our last 1.5 mile track of the season. And I know they're not the most exciting tracks out there, but they are the easiest to predict, which makes it a lot better for DFS purposes. And if you do find this video helpful in any way possible, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to take that one step further, become an official member over on Patreon. Link is down below in the description for that. I realize NASCAR is coming closer to an end. We only have about 3 races left, but I do cover other sports, including the NFL, NBA, which are in full force right now. So if you want to check those out, link is down below. They've been going quite well. And last but not least, this video is sponsored by PrizePicks. I'm sure most of you know what it is by now, but if you don't, it's daily fantasy sports simplified, just you versus the projections. There's no sharks, 150 max contests, or salary cap restrictions, or anything like that. Just you versus the props they offer each and every single day. And as of right now, I am offering PrizePicks projections on the spreadsheets, and leverage ratings, and some of my favorite plays personally in the article. And last week, they were giving out free money with Eric Almirola. All you had to do was have him finish worse than like 11th place, which is something he hasn't even came close to in this package this season. So taking him to their easy money. They have a lot of soft lines over on NASCAR. So if you want to check it out, make sure you use code CPEN when you sign up. If you're signing over there, you can get a free money bonus up to $100. That's an instant deposit match up to $100. So it's free money. Want to use it to your advantage when you use code CPEN and tell them I sent you. I think it'll be it for the plugs for the most part. So without further ado, let's dive into the preview this week's race. As always, I have to mention a few things before we get started. So first off, the obvious, no live stream this weekend. But number 2, if you guys want to join the DraftKings contest that I host each and every single week, all you guys got to do is comment your DQs and down below. I'll be more than happy to have you. You'll more than likely get an invite from Tucker Bear 03. Don't ask questions why, but that's probably what's going to happen. I do want to give a shout out from the winners last week, so I'll throw them on the screen right about now. And taking on the gold first place and a good chunk of change, we had our man Big Andy Kane, Sir Andy in our Discord community, who's been there for a long time. Nice to see him up top, I think for like the 2nd or 3rd time this season. So he's definitely been killing the CPEN contest so far this year. Silver, we got Smoking Guns 40 and taking on the bronze Raider 50-29. Running the bubble, we had Sean Triller also in the Discord, as well as Massey in 5th, Baspi in 6th, Bruce in 7th. My man Rick in 8th, also in the Discord, Natalie SCV in 9th, and Steel 3342, also known as Dave in 10th place. So out to you guys. You had fantastic lineups last weekend. Like I said, if you want to join, just comment the DQs down below. I'm more than happy to have you. I think it's it for the housekeeping, so let's get right into the preview of this week's race. And as previously mentioned, this is the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. This is your typical 1.5 cookie cutter intermediate track. It's a low wear track, so very similar to what we saw last week at Texas. And the guys that were fast last week at Texas will probably be fast once again here at Kansas. 267 laps compared to 334 last week, so 200 points aren't quite as important, but you're still going to around 2 to 3 per lineup this weekend, so nothing really has changed here besides the amount of laps that we've had. So I think that's kind of it for the preview. Pretty cut and dry for the most part, nothing too spectacular here, just a typical low wear 1.5 mile track, and we just had one last week, so it should be fresh in your mind. So with that being said, let's just dive right into the driver-by-driver breakdown portion of this week's video. And my overall thoughts on the pricing, I think they did a lot better job this week. They had too many free dominators last weekend, like Hamlin was below 10,000, as was Kyle Busch. And now you have pretty much the 3 drivers you'd expect to be the most expensive. Larson close to 12K. He was under 11K last week for who knows why. That made no sense whatsoever. But I think the pricing's a lot better this weekend. Hopefully it will at least battle a little bit of the chalk, although I can still see a lot of chalk forming looking at some of the pricing. So you know, it is what it is. You got to take what you get from DraftKings. But we'll start up top with Kyle Larson, $11,700. He's starting him first. And you'll probably see a similar performance to what he did at Texas. I mean, I see no reason to believe why he wouldn't. He's been by far the most dominant car in this package. He was complaining about his car last week, and he was still just dusting the field. I don't even remember how many laps he led, but it was a lot. I want to say 200 plus. I mean, he absolutely murdered it. And no reason to believe why he can't do that again. Never really get his numbers in this package this year. 88.8 DraftKings points race. The guy in second is Kyle Busch at 61.4. It's just such a drastic difference from everybody else. He's got 3 wins over 100 laps slide, 46 fast laps. I think you guys get the idea by now. But Kyle Larson's pretty good in the 550 package. He's been great this year. I know there's some talk about him not maybe trying as hard in this race, but I just don't see why that would be the case. I don't really buy into that. I think if he's got the best car, he's just going to cruise the entire race and leave as many laps as possible. So if you're playing cash games this weekend, Kyle Larson's the first guy you're going to plug in. And Kyle Larson will more than likely be my highest owned driver once again. I had 90%, 150 max Kyle Larson last week, and I honestly felt like I was a little bit too low. I should have just lock buttoned him. I'm tempted to do it again, but since there's different scenarios this weekend, I don't think I'm going to lock button him, but I'll probably be pretty darn close to it because he just projects so much better than every other driver. Then Hamlin starting in 6th. The JGR cars were really not that great last weekend. I know Chris Rebel had a good finish at the end, but Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch were quite disappointing. I had a lot of both of those guys. It was still a good weekend just because of how much Kyle Larson and some other guys they had, but I had too much Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. They were definitely disappointing. I think they'll have a better showing this time out. They're both actually very good at Kansas. Denny Hamlin has 2 wins here. Kyle Busch has 1 win. He actually won the most recent race here for the Bushy McBush race. Unfortunately, we don't have that Busch narrative now, but these are still great tracks for them, and they've both been amazing so far in this package this year. Kyle Busch has the best average finish at 4.1. Denny Hamlin just been more of a lap leader, but Kyle Busch is more of a fast lap guy. So you're really splitting hairs. I mean, overall, Kyle Busch has been the better driver in this package, so he's $20 cheaper, but my projections actually like Denny Hamlin a little bit more. I think he's got more potential to lead laps. He already won at a 1.5 mile low wear track already in the playoffs. So we're really just splitting hairs here. I'll probably have similar ownership on the two with maybe a slight lean towards Denny Hamlin, but I mean, really, I'll just be so heavily invested on Kyle Larson. I can't see myself having too much of these two, but we'll have a decent chunk. They'll be some of my higher end dominators. Truex, probably a fade for me. He just doesn't have it at the 550 package this season. I mean, yeah, he can get good finishes, but he's got 0 wins. He's got 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s with only 5.8 laps left, races 7.3 fast laps. We'll see how it's going to magically get better here at Kansas this weekend. Chase Elliott below him at $10,000 I think is a much better play. He's starting in 5th. I think he has a lot higher potential to dominate during this race, and he could get the extra Hendrick juice this week over Kyle Larson just because they want to get Chase Elliott advancing into the next round. But he's good at Kansas, 4 top 5s for the past 6 races. Been one of the best drivers at the low wear intermediate tracks this season, so I think Elliott should definitely be on our Raiders at only $10,000. Continuing the Hendrick train here, we have Alex Bowman at $9,800. He's starting in 25th, and William Byron $9,500. Starting in 9th, Alex Bowman's a very safe play starting in 25th. He always has top 15 upside. He's actually pretty darn good here at Kansas, 4 top 10s the past 6 races. Hasn't been quite as good as his teammates, Kyle Larson, William Byron, or Chase Elliott, but he should have a strong enough race for where he's starting. Should be a safe play. So if you don't play him in cash games, no problem with that, but it kind of lacks the ceiling that guys like William Byron has. I think he could certainly get up front, dominate, or finish like 2nd or 3rd, which he did last week, get a lot of fast laps, lead some laps, and I think the guys that were fast last week will be fast once again, and William Byron's up there with Kyle Larson in terms of green flag speed, so see no reason why William Byron can't be a good play here. My projections love him starting in 9th, and I don't mind going like Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, William Byron to start your cash game lineups. If you can fit that, which you can, I tried it. My projections actually like that as the optimal. Not saying it's a foregone conclusion. If you could easily just throw in a Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch over one of them, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I don't think that's a bad way to go because I think they'll be pretty fast once again. William Byron has been amazing this package. 2nd in lap sled, 2nd in fast laps, 2nd in green flag speed. So see no reason why he can't be fast here. Ryan Blaney, $9,300 starting in 2nd. Kind of a very similar play as he was last weekend where he's starting close to the front. But we're going to need a good finish and some fast laps because I really don't see him getting up front and leading laps. I mean, it's possible. He is good at Kansas. Do not let his average finish of 18th place here skew your thought process on him because he typically runs very well here. He has an average running position of 8.2, which is one of the best of all drivers, but he gets screwed each and every single race. Like earlier this season at Kansas, Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney were 2 of the best cars, but they ended up wrecking each other, like the green-white checkered restart, I believe, at the end, and it screwed their days up. He just gets very unlucky here, but Ryan Blaney's a guy that always brings speed at these track types. He's top 5 in green flag speed in the 550 package so far this season, and intermediates. I see no reason why Ryan Blaney can't be a contender in this race. He's been great in the playoffs so far. It's hard to see him getting up front leading laps over guys like Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, but it's certainly possible, so I think he's a great tournament play starting in 2nd place. Keselowski, $9,100. He's starting in 3rd. Like his teammates Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney, he typically runs very well here at Kansas. He actually has 1 win, 4 top 5s, and 5 top 10s the past 6 races. Some of the most laps led, some of the most fast laps. He actually has the 2nd best average finish behind Chase Elliott at 5.8. Keselowski hasn't really brought it too much this year. He had a solid run last week. He's actually been a lot better in the 550 than he has been in the 750 package this year. Finished 4th last weekend, 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 3rd in the intermediates. Past 6 of them. So, I mean, he's been solid, but starting in 3rd place kind of loses its luster instead of starting like in 10th or like 12th. So I don't really see myself having too much Keselowski, if any. Honestly, could be a good fade candidate, even though he's got great track history here. Kevin Harvick starting us off with the 8K range, starting at 11th. Also, another guy that's very good at Kansas, some of the most laps led, some of the most fast laps, just some of the overall best numbers. But I think we all know track history hasn't really translated much this season, so I'm not really too excited about playing Kevin Harvick here. I will say intermediates. He has been solid, getting good finishes. Finished 5th last week at Texas, and he finished 2nd here earlier in the season, so I don't think Kevin Harvick's a necessarily bad play starting 11th. I think he can get a good finish at $8,900. Not a bad price point. He's got 4 top 5s and 8 top 10s this season, but the big glaring issue is this big red 0 here. 0 laps led per race this season. 7.2 fast laps, but that's not going to get the job done to be optimal. Like, he could be a good play to where he can cash you in some miles. I just don't really see Kevin Harvick being optimal on this slate. Like Ryan Blaney, higher ceiling than Kevin Harvick. William Byron, a much higher ceiling than Kevin Harvick. I'd rather play Alex Bowman. I know they're not completely in the same price range, but even Kurt Busch and Tyler Reddick almost seem like better plays than Kevin Harvick a lot of the times. I will say projection-wise, Kevin Harvick grades out the best in this 8K range, but he's not too far from guys like Kurt Busch or Tyler Reddick, so I don't think he's definitely a must-play, even though he's pretty cheap this weekend. Joey Logano sucks in this package. I just don't see myself playing him, so I'm probably just going to be a full fade on Joey Logano. He's just been terrible. Average finish 17.5, running position at 12.5. Then that's not terrible, but he's just not getting a finish with 0 top 5s, 3 top 10s. Going to need him to lead laps to be optimal, and I just don't see that happening. Kurt Busch, starting in 13th, $8,500. I think he's a fine play. He's been solid in this package so far this season. Wrecked at Charlotte, but besides that, 16th, 8th, 4th, 1st, and 15th was running a lot better than 16th last week. I want to say he had a speeding penalty, if I remember. Yeah, I think he had a penalty of some sort, which kind of skewed his day. Overall, Kurt Busch is always a top 10 contender pretty much each and every single week, and he's got 3 top 10s here the past 6 races. Tyler Reddick was excellent speed-wise last week at Texas. Finished 9th place, 6th at Las Vegas, 6th at Atlanta, 9th at Charlotte, 7th at Kansas. Every single time we're at 1.5, he is top 10 upside each and every single week. And starting in 12th place, definitely don't mind getting some Tyler Reddick in tournaments. I wish he was cheaper. He typically is cheaper, so he definitely got a bit of a price hike, but that should lower his ownership even more, and I definitely think he's a pretty solid play. I mean, he's got 7 top 10s out of 11 tries in this package so far this season. Ross Chastain's been terrible in this package. Looking at his last 6 finishes at intermediates, 28th, 23rd, 35th, 21st, 37th, and 14th at Kansas, which I will say some of these races he's had some issues, so I'm not going to completely fault him for it, but he's been a lot better at road courses in the 750 package because his numbers are just pretty darn bad here, so I don't really see myself having too much Chastain, even though he does offer you some PD upside. Christopher Bell, $8,000 starting in 10th. He kind of lucked into a 3rd place finish, I felt like, last week. I don't want to say lucked into it, but I felt like he kind of came out of nowhere. He definitely wasn't like top 5 in green flag speed or anything. And he's a bit of a hit or miss driver in this package. Prefer him in the 750, especially at shorter flat tracks. But $8,000 is not a bad price point to take a few shots on in tournaments, but I'd expect him to be pretty low owned, and that's probably for good reason. I'd rather play Austin Dillon at $7,800. He's starting in 14th. Guy is pretty much a top 15, top 12 machine at these types of tracks. I know he finished 36th in Michigan, but issues happen. So if we look past that, 14th, 13th, 12th, 6th, and 10th, he's pretty good at Kansas. He's good at 1.5s. Don't mind Austin Dillon at all. Eric Almirola, I've been fading pretty much every single week in the 550 package. And like I mentioned on Price Picks last weekend, they had him at like 29.5 points, which was probably the easiest under of all time. So I'm hoping they post a similar prop to that because that can help us pay our groceries this weekend if they do that once again. But I don't see myself playing too much Almirola. I know he's pretty good at Kansas, but he just does not have it in this package here. He has 6 top 20s, but 0 top 15s, which if he finishes 18th, yeah, it's positive PD, but it's not enough at $7,600. Bubba Wallace starting in 27th, he could honestly gain like 10 to 12 spots here, so I definitely like Bubba over Eric Almirola. Good PD upside there. Ryan Newman, he was one of those guys that wrecked out early on last week. Yeah, if you guys remember last week's race, I mean, a lot of these guys are starting deep in the pack not because they sucked last week, but because they got wrecked. Like, nothing you can do about that at the very beginning. But Ryan Newman, it's not exciting, but he has at least top 15, top 20 upside in this package. But again, not pretty. I'd rather play Bubba over Newman, but Newman is playable. Klingerman's too expensive. I know he's not an absolute junk, but the 96 car really isn't that great. We saw what Suarez did with the last season. I mean, he could probably finish around like 20th to 30th, which is okay, but $7,100. I mean, there's no reason that he should be more expensive than Stenhouse. Like, that's just stupid. I don't understand that. Like, Rick Stenhouse, probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. Wrecked last week, but if you look past the races he's wrecked, 17th, 12th, and 12th, the past 6 to intermediates. I think he's just fine starting in 28th. He has 6 top 15s in this package this season. See no reason why he can't be a good cash game play starting in 28th. Dropping down to the 6K range, MDB seems a bit too cheap. He's got top 15 upside each and every single time they go to a track like this. 13th at Texas, 12th at Vegas, 6th at Michigan, 9th at Atlanta, 18th at Charlotte, and 4th at Kansas earlier this season. So MDB, I think he's actually one of the better plays on the slate at his price point. Chase Briscoe's been pretty solid recently with these track types, 15th, 14th, 11th, and 15th. Don't hit him in tournaments. I don't think he's going to be too chalky, especially with MDB right there because he has better name value. But Briscoe, not a bad play because there's not many good 6K plays down low this weekend in terms of place differential. Dino Suarez is a good tournament play. Finished 10th last week at Texas, finished 11th at Kansas. He's actually finished the top 15, 7 out of 11 tries in this package, which is not bad for a guy that's only $6,400. Starts a little bit up front, but don't mind him in tournaments. Chris Buescher will be the chalk galore down low. Very good play starting in 21st. Been great in this package this year compared to his price tag. 15.6 average finish. 3 top 10s, a lot of top 20s. Finished 8th at Kansas earlier this season. Kind of wrecked last week at the end, so won't really fault him for that, but he was running pretty well beforehand. But Buescher, definitely a great play. Expect him to be very highly owned. Mike McDowell's been a lot better in this package this season. Finished 17th last week. Some of these finishes are a bit skewed for these back market guys, though, because so many guys wrecked early on and so many guys wrecked throughout the race. Like BJ McLeod finished 22nd, if that tells you anything. David started 23rd, which is not going to happen on a normal race. But Michael McDowell, not a bad play, I don't think. I mean, top 20-wise, he's been there pretty much each and every single week in this package with 9 top 20s, which is right there with Chris Buescher. Doesn't have quite the top 15, top 10 upside, but I don't hate McDowell, but I don't love it either. Eric Jones is dirt cheap at $6,100 starting in 17th. In the past, when he was in the 20 car, this was a great track for Eric Jones. He finished 12th last week. Got to keep in mind, though, again, some of these guys got a bit lucky, but he was fast early on, so I don't think Eric Jones is the worst play, only $6,100. Cole Custer, it's ugly, but he is pretty cheap starting in 22nd. And then for these 5K guys, the one I'm interested in the most is Ryan Preece starting in 32nd. He's got top 25 upside of these track types. In this package this season, average finish at 23.6. Not bad for a guy starting in 32nd. Wrecked last week, but $5,700. Expect him to be quite chalky down low. LaJoie's playable, but he's starting a little bit too up front for me to have too much. Anthony Alfredo, you know what you're getting basically. Pretty much a 30th to 25th place finish, which is nothing great, but $5,600, it could be worse. And I have pretty much zero interest in these back marker guys for the most part. With that being said, I think that'll be pretty much it for the video. So I hope it was helpful, and if it was, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to take that one step further, an official member over on Patreon. Link is down below in the description for that. And since it's about the end of the month, if you do sign up, I can't refund it for you if you do stay signed up through, what's the next month, November. So if you do want to do that, you can get this last week for free, which includes NBA, NFL, and if we have any 2-game MLB slates, I'll be posting those as well. But if you want to check it out, you know where to find it. And don't forget, this video was sponsored by PrizePicks, just you versus the projections. And as of right now, if you're new signing over there, you can get a free money bonus. That's is deposit match up to $100 when you use code CPEN and tell them I sent you. It's really fun to play over there. I always play it into addition to what I do on DraftKings each and every single weekend. I've been having a very good time with it. Talk about it in the Discord and all that fun stuff. So do highly recommend it. But I think that'll be it. I'll stop rambling and I'll see you guys next time at Martinsville.